I don't do dishes. I'm too pretty for dishes. I don't do those. No, nope. Sorry. You put in the dishwasher. I don't do dishes. Sorry. Hey, Hetepu. Assalamu alaikum. Haroon Nefer. This is Kasak Ma Keperu with another video for you. And in this video, I want to talk about how to achieve an ultimate state of peace. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button below. And if this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live or upload new videos. And if you get an opportunity, subscribe to us on Patreon. You can do so for as little as $1 or $5 per month, and you get access to exclusive videos, which will teach you how to be a magi, a magician. The videos go into more esoteric knowledge, spiritual knowledge that I do on this channel. So definitely check that out. It's very inexpensive to take those courses on divination, how to put together an amulet, how to do a ritual, all that great stuff. So become a Patreon supporter. So let's talk about this, about achieving an ultimate state of peace. Now I'm going to try and make this video fast because I have some house chores I have to do. And anyway, you guys know I just kid a lot. I like to kid. See, I was born under the clan of Ma'at, and Ma'at. If you guys know anything about the Tree of Life, the Port Natalu, Ma'at has a safety mechanism in there so your peace doesn't get disrupted. Ma'at has optimism. No matter what happens, Ma'at is always optimistic, and Ma'at is always warm and open. And that's the kind of person I am. No matter what I'm going through, I have a jovial mood about things. You know, I'm always playful, and sometimes it gets me in trouble, but a lot of times it protects me from getting my spirit damaged. And that's what they call is the second death. The first death is when you die the physical death, right? That's really the first death. But the second death is when you allow an external emotional thing to impact you so much to the core, it disrupts your spirit and it stays there. Now, follow me here. It stays there. I had to go through a number of years of therapy because my brother and I were physically and verbally abused as children. And when I went through therapy, I found out that that trauma actually went to the core of my being, my spirit. And it's there. So when I went to the oracle, the great oracle of Tahuti, and I asked what would my afterlife be, I got a dark deceased reading. So what is a dark deceased reading? That means that you are a being who has been attached to things, that you are so emotionally disrupted. I'm not kind of putting in the right words, but you'll understand what I'm saying. You're so emotionally disrupted that you're going to be in the inner planes, a being who is not at rest. You're going to be a dark deceased being. And what dark deceased beings do is they hang out at dark places. Like you may see at 3 a.m, your corner store is dark and you have people just hanging out there. Maybe there's a drug transaction, maybe prostitution. That's where dark deceased beings like to be. And they like to attach themselves to certain people who have negative beliefs and thoughts. So the idea is that you should protect your spirit from getting disrupted. And that's why I was leading into this with the whole idea of how Ma'at has a safety mechanism in it, because Ma'at is basically optimistic, okay? Now, I want to talk about an interesting email. I get emails all the time from all over the world. My God, I can't read all of these. But this one I kind of found interesting because this young woman was writing me, and in addition to asked me a lot of different questions, she touched on one of the videos that I did, which I talked about doing good, how the Western concept, or I shouldn't say that, the European concept of God and righteousness, it's about doing good. And you look at the Christian ministers, they always focus on the physical act of doing a good deed, being altruistic. And I had said something in the previous video where I said it doesn't matter if you do good. That's not the most important thing. So, and she kind of focused in on that. And this is what she wrote. I'm not going to mention her name. She goes, greetings again, Brother Kesank. I have a question. In one of your teachings, you said good has nothing to do with it, but in the end, we have to stand before Ma'at's laws to be judged. Now, she's talking about the judgment scene where you're judged, your heart is judged on the scale against a feather. Ma'at's laws to be judged, so does that not come back to good, not just being good on earth, but in order to pass Ma'at's laws, when you stand before her, you will have to complete it, her laws or her commandments. All right. So it's a very long email, so I'm not going to go into to reading it verbatim. But basically, what she's talking about here is that the judgment scene. I think it's the papyrus of Anu. I'll have to go back and see that, but it comes directly out of that papyrus. And what it talks about is that you'll go before Osir, and Tahuti will be there, Anubis will be there, or Anubis or Sebek, and he will be inspecting the scales. And what they'll do is they take your heart out and they'll weigh your heart against the feather. And if your heart weighs lighter than the feather, then you're allowed to pass. If not, you will be devoured by a demon, you know? So this is just a symbol, a grand symbol, but in a way it's very much true. When you do die, you do go before a judgment, all right? And it's not going to be a physical type of thing. It's going to be very metaphysical, but you will go before judgment, and Tahuti will be there thought to judge you. And what I responded to her and said that there was no real Ma'at laws. So, and this whole idea of doing good is, again, it's a very primitive, childlike mentality that was developed out of the European mindset. So their idea of God is one who rules by fear, and you are subservient to the God. So you must fear God and obey God. The non-Western perspective is God is one with all, and we are God within, and therefore you don't need to fear God. So you because God is seen as a great ancestor. This is why we have different names for God. We call God Nebecher or Neter. You know, Western culture, you can say Jehovah or Source or Universe, however you want to coin it. But the thing I want you to understand is that doing good is a given. This is what you should be doing. You should be doing good. But it does no good to do good if the heart isn't in the right place. I can go and rob a store and kill 50 people, walk out with a bag of cash and see a poor kid on the street starving, and I pull out a $50 bill. I give that kid a $50 bill so he can go eat, and he takes it back to his mom, and the mom can buy groceries. But I just killed 15 people or 50 people. So that one act does not mean anything. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because technically, it's where the heart is coming from. So when you go before the judgment scene, your heart is weighed. And the idea is your heart must weigh light in the feather so that you are light-hearted, meaning you're not heavy-hearted. You don't carry burdens and attachments to things. You know what I mean? When you are a person who is emotionally imbalanced, who's easy to get angry, to excite, who follows their whims, have knee-jerk reaction to things, just do whatever they want, and they can't control their emotions. So therefore, they get involved in drugs. Therefore, they get involved in all kinds of wayward and backwards things, overspending, buying everything. Then they start to physically abuse their mate. You know, so the idea in the Kemetic tradition or a non-Western tradition is that you do not develop emotional attachments to things. You shouldn't be greedy. You understand what I'm saying? You shouldn't be indulging in lower base emotions. Your heart must be still, because when your heart is still and it's not beating fast, meaning you're not easily excited about things. I'm not attached to that car, even though that car is a Lamborghini. If I lose it, I lose it. There we go. There's no emotional attachment there for me, you know, because I am at peace. I am at rest. And this is what allows you to pass the test of Ma'at, the judgment scene, because you're carrying no burdens. Your heart is still. Your heart is free. And this is what I talked about and I alluded early on about the trauma and dying the second death and taking with you to your death emotional trauma or emotional attachments. If you take those things with you, then when you go before Tahuti and the judgment scene, then you're going to have some issues. Okay, when your heart is placed on that scale, your heart's going to weigh a lot, and then you're going to be devoured by the demon. That is the whole idea behind our spiritual life. It's not about me doing good. God expects that of you. That is a given. It's like breathing. You should be doing good. But we each come here with a specific destiny. And that is really what the judgment scene is about, because you're going to be read the contract you made, the pre-life contract, which is your destiny. And Tahuti's going to say, we made a soul contract agreement Did you fulfill that agreement? And your agreement may have been, for example, unrequited love. You must learn love, what love really is, which is giving, seeking nothing in return. So you may say, when you fell in love with that woman or that man, did you love them despite the fact that they didn't love you? And that's how the whole situation is played out with your life. Every one of us has a destiny, a theme we're exploring. And prior to being incarnated on this planet, we agreed to that theme, agreed to that as a soul contract. The agreement is made in the inner planes or the ether with Tahuti. Tahuti is the great scribe. He records everything that's going on in your life, and it will be read back to you when you go before the weighing of the heart, the judgment scene. So there are no strict laws, because remember, we're right brain integrated people. We don't go by the paradigm that the left brain needs to go by. This is why you find the masses of white people who are left brain have to follow a Bible. They have to have a precedence or a reference point, such as laws to go by. That is their natural inclination. And if anybody comes on my channel and starts talking some bullshit about how white people are evil or this, get off my channel. Because as a Kemetian, as a spiritual being, I recognize the fact that we are all God, okay? So don't tell me part of us is evil. We are all one consciousness. So don't tell me that part of us is caveman or this. I don't want to hear that language on my channel, all right? We don't talk that way. We recognize that every being has God within them. Now, the Geb aspect, the physical body, is a filter, and it's constructed in certain ways due to the region you come from. Do you come from Europe? Do you come from Africa? Depending on the regions that you came from, you develop certain hemispheres of the brain. People of color develop the right hemisphere. People without color, who we call white, develop the left hemisphere. Is one better than the other? No. They are both needed. We need them both. We need the left and the right brain to work together harmoniously. This is why we call it integration. This is why we have the god Osir. He is the uniter of Upper and Lower Egypt. That is a symbolism for uniting the left and the right sides of the brain. See, our ancestors knew all about the brain. So we're not going to say because you're left brain and you come from Europe, you're primitive. And we're not going to say because you're a right brain and you come from Africa, you are pagan or primitive. We're not going to say things like that, because we put everything in perspective. Seker, the goddess Seker, tells us a place for everything and everything in its place. The goddess Ma'at tells us that there's an interdependence and interrelationship between all things. Okay? Now, for us to be at peace, it is not as these Christian ministers come and express that because I love God, I'm just so happy every day. You know why they're happy? Because they're happy in their Lamborghinis. They're happy at the money that you give them through the ATM machine. That's how they're happy. Because you have to recognize the animal spirit that is within you. You have to recognize the Geb aspect. You have to recognize the Kahab and the Kahabit. Those things are within you, and they will fight you. Okay? They will react. It is a primitive instinct. Fight or flight. That's what they do automatically without you thinking. Self-preservation is your number one directive. And whether you consciously think about your own preservation or not, your animal aspect, it will think about and will act upon your preservation without you even having to think about it. Okay? If your house suddenly bursts into flames and there are explosions going on, you ain't got to think, I should get out the house. Where's the best place I should run? No, the animal spirit within you, whose directive is self-preservation, is going to get your ass up and start running. If you are suddenly walking down the street or wherever, oh, what a beautiful day today, la, la, la. And suddenly you look to your left and there is a tiger, or let's say a lion there, and you look, you don't have to think anything. The automatic nervous system, or your whole animal aspect that is what we call the animal spirit within you, is going to get your ass running. Okay? So the reason why I'm saying this, okay, is that you have to recognize and pay tribute to that aspect within you. If you nurture the animal aspect within you, it'll grow and become more powerful. And many of us do that. And we don't do it consciously or willingly. We do it by indulging in emotions. When you exhibit anger continually, in the Kemetic culture, we call it a conditioning. In Scientology, they call it an engram. In NLP, they call it a pattern, neuro-linguistic programming. Whatever you want to call it, you are creating within you a subconscious response, a subconscious memory that you're going to recall, and it grows more powerful. Sometimes we can call these a pendulum or an ergobore. What it means is that the more you indulge in emotion, the more powerful it becomes, and then it starts to control you. This is why I tell parents, don't beat your children, because when you beat your children, you're acting out, you're not at peace, because you cannot be a person to invoke justice or punishment when you're not at peace, because then there's an opportunity there to allow the anger within you to express itself. And then what you're doing goes beyond bringing balance, beyond bringing justice to a situation. And many parents who, especially us who are a little bit older, who've gone through this experience, many parents who think that it's okay to beat a child, have really engaged in abuse, child abuse. So because they're not at peace and not at rest. So you're allowing your anger to be expressed, and you should not be doing that. All right. So with that in mind, let's go back to what I was saying, the animal spirit. Okay. When you have to recognize that you are God man, God woman, but you're in the physical body, the Geb. And the physical body, the Geb, has an aspect to it, which is the lower aspect, which is the Kahab and the Kahabid. And these are the animal aspects of us, the most primitive aspects. When you look at it from the brain perspective, you're talking about the R complex and the mammalian brain. The R complex, or the reptilian brain, is one of the oldest brains, and it deals with customs and physicality. In other words, reading physical movements and gestures. The mammalian is more about the emotional aspect. But these are things that we are supposed to elevate ourselves above so that we can be masters of this. Okay. This is why Osir, when you talk about God, we always say the risen one. Osir rose from the dead. We're talking about you're rising beyond the lowly mammalian and reptilian brain to rise above that, to be the king, the one in control. And this is the whole story of Sarah Set, where Haru had to battle Set, who is a symbol of your emotions, and conquer his emotions, Haru's emotions. And Haru is also analogous to hour, the hours, the 12 hours, which is the 12 signs of the zodiac, or 12 signs of the zodiac are the animals, the zoology. So we get that whole thing from there. So when these preachers come along and say they can automatically be at peace, you can't subdue the animal spirit that easily. So that is a phony representation of the state of peace. Okay? They're lying, basically, because they have to profess to achieve something so that you can give them money, because all that we want in life is to be at peace. That is what you want. Not pleasure, but peace, because peace is being centered, a peace that nothing can disrupt. And the way that you do that is a multifaceted approach. I don't have time to go into details about that. But one of the reasons why I gravitated toward the Kemetic religion of Asar and Aset, because I saw that it had things in there that would allow me to get to that state of nirvana, that Zen state. And one of the things they had was the practice of hypnosis or trance induction, because the only way to get deep down into your spirit and rid your spirit of the animal instincts or the wayward and backwards emotions is through your subconscious mind, through hypnosis or trance state. And not many religions have that. In fact, the Christian religion, they poo-poo doing any type of meditation or working with the right brain. The other thing was the oracles, because the oracles are objective and they can read into your psyche and they can read into your past life, into the future. So I saw that as an opportunity to help me reach a state of peace. And those two things I thought were pivotal in really getting me to a state of where I can be at rest. The other thing I started to work with was breathing techniques. And I've talked about this previously on my channel, which is the 4-7-8 breath technique. It's what I call the Amen technique. When I discovered it and I started practicing it, I was amazed at how it worked, because it allowed me not to be emotionally upset by anything. And when I practiced the breathing technique, I noticed that nothing really bothered me. I was very centered. And at that time, I was going through a lot of things with my parents and work. And I just took it upon myself to start the breathing technique, the 4-7-8 technique. And all of a sudden, I just found myself not caring. I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, just being very, very centered, you know? So those things there can help you to get you to the right place, the ultimate state of peace. But there is not going to be just because you love God, and we all do. That love for God is not enough to transform your life and make you happy every day or make you centered every day. I wish it were that easy. I really do. And I wish it was that love for God, or you accepting Jesus, or you accepting Buddha, or you accepting Osir into your life that would transform you and get you centered to a state of peace. I wish it was that simple, my friends. I wish it was that simple, but it is not. And anybody that tells you it's that simple, they're lying, because they don't know the makeup of your spirit. You're either a Shechem, or an Abman, or a Sahu. Those are the levels. When you rise up to the level of the Shechem, that means you're a very powerful spiritual being. But until you get there, you've got to do the work. You've got to do your breathing. You've got to do your meditations. You've got to go to the oracle and say, what do I work on to become more at peace? Because see, you're not only conditioned, or because conditioning is really a hypnotic state, because you're repeatedly exposed to certain things, and that empowers the emotional thing within you, and you express that. So you're not only conditioned by society to have those emotional outbursts, because society wants you to be an emotional being. They want you to have knee-jerk reactions so you can go to the department store and buy things, so you can get involved in road rage. They want you to do all of this. But not only are you being conditioned in that way and carrying around those negative emotions, but you bring it from your past life, which you have not really dealt with. Children up until the age of 4 remember their past lives, and they bring things from their past life directly, and that starts to dissipate after the age of 4. But you're still carrying around that baggage in your subconscious mind, and you need to rid yourself of that. So don't tell me that because you're a Krishna, or you're a Buddhist, or you're following Muhammad, that you can just suddenly be at peace. It doesn't work that way. I mean, you may feel good, but your shadow self is carrying around a bunch of junk, and you better purge that stuff, because when you go before the judgment scene, Ma'at and Tootie are going to put you through that test. They're going to say, okay, we're going to rip your heart out and put it on the scale. Let's see. And they don't care how you feel. Yeah, it's great. You feel good. You accepted the fictional character of Jesus. Great. Put your heart on that scale. All right, weigh it. Because we get into so much quick fix things, and we're a culture that just wants something easy. We really do. We just want things easy. We want people to tell it to us so that it doesn't seem like there's a lot of hard work. But it is work, man. It is work. If I don't want to do um, dishes, the dishes are going to pile up. Someone's going to have to do it. If you don't want to cleanse yourself and purge yourself of negative emotions, it's going to just pile up. And it's going to explode one day. And then you're going to wonder where all that came from. And then you're going to think, maybe I need to see a psychologist. You know? But see, instead of seeing a psychologist, someone's going to come along and say, you need to just accept Jesus. You need to just accept Christ. If you do that, you'll be happy like me, and you'll be saved, and you'll feel good. And then you'll walk into the congregation, and everybody has a phony smile, and they're praying and singing. And then when you walk in, they call you sister. Come on, sister. Come on, brother. And you're going to feel so at home. You're going to feel so good because they're going to treat you nice on the outside. But on the inside, they're all gossiping about each other. They're all tearing each other down. They're having freaky sex on the side. Some of them even doing drugs or even are involved in con artists, business schemes, cheating people. You've got to deal with the internal stuff. Go ahead and do good. That's great. But look at what's going on in your psyche, what's buried there, what's carried from past lives, and what's being accumulated through social conditioning. Whether you like it or not, this society has a type of standard in terms of the way they want you to live. They want you to accept certain things, accept a model. They want you to think that the African woman is ugly, but the European woman is beautiful. So you're going to be socially conditioned to think that, whether you like it or not, whether you want to admit it or not. They want you to think that the European man is a world traveler. He's rich. He's 007. But that's a facade. They want you to think that just because they walk around smiling and that they're Christians, they on the right path. No. See, this is why I chose the Kemetic religion, because I knew it would lead me to being at peace, an ultimate state of peace, because I know it dealt with the junk in my psyche. That's where it all originates. And when I started to do this work, I uncovered stuff about myself that I didn't know that was messed up. I realized that I had been physically abused as a child, verbally abused as a child, and that carried on to a point of when I became older and went to college, I had selective mutism. And if you don't know what that is, it means an inability to verbally communicate. Failed every subject, couldn't speak to anybody, would literally just pass out if I got into a crowd, so scared to be around people. I had to learn to deal with that. And then my brother had to learn to deal with it on his end as well. And luckily, I found spirituality, and I found the right spiritual culture that really delved deep into the psyche. This is why, although I don't like Scientology, I appreciate it for how it's trying to tackle the problem, which is from a subconscious process. All the other religions are telling you to ignore the subconscious mind. You can't. That's the way you get to peace. Do you know how most of the biblical figures and the prophets had their spiritual visions? Do you know how they did that? I'll tell you how they did that. Because they stressed their nervous systems out. They did a long fast. They didn't have any food or water. And they put their physical bodies in extreme conditions to where the left brain became deactivated. And they went right into the right brain. And they went into the alternate state of consciousness to where they could contact God and contact source, contact wisdom. And then they had a revelation. And you can duplicate that process. You can duplicate that process. The Kemetic religion, we do that. It's nothing unique to their religion, where only God speaks to those who follow Muhammad the murderer, because that's what he was. No, there is a specific process to tapping into subconscious mind that will allow you to tap into the Akashic records, or God, or source, or Muhammad, or Yahweh, or Sneteru, whatever you want to call him, her. But it's nothing unique to any one religion. It's a duplicatable process. So what I'm telling you is, to achieve the ultimate state of peace, you're going to have to start dealing with the junk in your trunk. You're going to have to look at it and say, I've got to purge myself of the negative emotions. And breathing, the correct breathing technique, is one way to start, because the animal spirit is invoked when you're not breathing in the right way. So let me just say hi to Magi's here. Give respect to all of the magicians in the chat room. Right, spiritual elevation. Hetepu, Ma'at, Aset Ma'at, Namaste, Dozier. Oh, good to see you. Hetep, Everett, Marks, Namaste, Haru El Rah, Hetepu. Okay, I want to say this properly. Joquana Miller, Hetep. Mind over matter, Haru Nefer. See who else we got here. Takia, Hetepu, Hango Stone, Namaste, Color of Dreams, Haru Nefer. All right, I want to thank you guys. Joe Mo, Hetep. All right, thank you all for joining in to the chat. If you get an opportunity, please donate to the channel. Also, I want to let you know, tomorrow we're doing our meditation session. It's the meditation session to awaken the God within you. And this meditation specifically designed, no, it's not a meditation session. I shouldn't say that. It's a hypnosis session, which is more powerful than meditation. So it's going to be a hypnosis session that's designed to awaken the God within you. Now, why is that important? It's important because it is the first step to manipulating reality, because as God, man, God, woman, you have that power to change the reality that's before you. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And it first starts with hypnosis, putting you into that state so you can recognize the fact that you are a God, man, God, woman, and not a human. You're not. All right. So when you recognize and accept that fact of your true legacy, your true lineage as God, then you will understand that everything around you is Maya, and it can change and you can manipulate it. So that's what that hypnosis session is going to be about. So make sure you're in a quiet room. You're not going to be disturbed. You're going to be focusing on the computer monitor, because I'm going to have a picture up there that you must watch and must pay attention to. And we're going to have a mantra, a very powerful mantra, that's going to change and reshape the synaptic connections in your brain. Okay? We're going to get down and dirty in that session. Also, I released my new ebook, the updated version, the new Capital Ankh, which is the secret to basically changing and mastering manipulating reality. That book is powerful. People love it. I've got people over in England, people everywhere who have read it, and they're just like really shocked at how much information I put in there. So if you haven't gotten a chance, get that book, The New Capital Ankh, which is basically the secret keys to manipulating reality. All right. And you must understand that I am not bullshitting. Okay, because I don't like it when I'm talking to people and they think I'm talking metaphorically, hypothetically. I am saying to you, you will be able to change reality. You don't like your mate, you can change her or him. You have that power. Understand that. You have been lied to for most of your life by the society around you to keep you imprisoned in this planet. It's a prison planet, where the souls are recycled over and over again. That's the goal. That's what they want. They want your soul to keep recycling so that you'll never ascend to 5D. Because we don't want to keep coming back here. We don't want to keep coming back here. That's ridiculous. And we're going to keep doing it if we don't accept and understand who we are. We are God. And when you understand that, you will not be fooled into being a recycled soul again. When Tahuti asks you what you want to do, you will say, I want to stay in the inner planes. I don't want to go back to Earth. That's the goal. And if you don't understand this, you just keep being reincarnated. And what they're going to do is they're going to wipe your memory. So you have no memory of the past. So you have to keep coming back and doing a whole new a refresh. And believe me, I remember my past life, and I remember many, many past lives. And also the key to that too, I want to just let you some insight. We're all not from this planet. Some of us are recycled souls that come from other star systems. We're star seeds. Some of us are. And we carry that memory of our lives on different planets, like coming from Alpha Centauri, coming from other Zeta Reticuli. This is deep and this is real. So I want to thank you all for attending. Donate to the channel if you can. This is Kasank Ma Keperu. My mother is the goddess Ma'at, and my father is the god Tehuti. My aunt is the beautiful goddess Heteru. Until my next broadcast, be at peace. Be Amen. Amen Ra.